Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. You've got a story to share, a message to inspire, and a passion ready to ignite. But where do you start? The world is waiting for your voice. With From Idea to Implementation, Start Your Own Podcast, you'll get the roadmap to turn your vision into reality. This isn't just a course, it's your launching pad. Step by step, we'll break down the process from defining your purpose to recording your first episode so you can finally share your voice with confidence. Stop overthinking it and start doing it. Your voice has the power to connect and lead. Are you ready to use it? Join the waitlist today. Your podcast journey starts now. The world is waiting. You can find the link to sign up for the waitlist in the show notes. We'll see you soon. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Christa Rose. She is a certified coach, a spiritual mentor, an energy worker, a speaker, and an author. Welcome, Christa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. I am really excited about jumping in and sharing all the things, Christa, the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do, your story, your journey. So with that being said, let us jump right in. Christa, that is a hell of a lot of hats you wear, a lot of titles. How do you find the time for all of this? And how do you prioritize? And how important is prioritization and organization for you?
That's a great question. I'm going to be completely honest. There are not a lot of hats. Okay. That is who I am. I wear them all the time. It's not like I take one off because a friend calls me up and says I need help, or maybe someone is passing away and is asking me for grief advice or something like that. So I am that person, and it is important to prioritize myself to make sure that I am, taken care of and healthy enough to help others.
And so with you wearing all of these hats, what does your morning routine look like?
I believe we should have our mind, body, and soul all in line. So with our mind, I sit for a few minutes and I take the time to think, what is it that I can bring up today? And, you might not know, but we have like 17,000 thoughts that go through our mind all about what happened yesterday, people who, pissed us off, whatever. And I don't want to bring that into today. And with my body, I actually boil hot water and I drink it instead of coffee because it's so good for our digestive system. And I move and I take that drink outside and I really ask the universe, what is it that I'm supposed to do today?
Movement is so important, and all of it, mind, body, spirit, all of it is so important.
I love dancing.
There you go. That's good movement. As long as you get some form of movement, get out for a walk in nature. If you dance, if that's your thing, go for a jog, whatever it is, that's as long as you're moving your body. I think we need to do that every single day. What drives, motivates, and inspires you to keep going and excelling at all that you do?
That's another great question. My motivation really is my life. I almost lost it several times. I've been given 4 years to live. I have a rare disease. I'm on my 6th year. Wow. 4 years ago, I wasn't walking. I wasn't talking. Obviously, I'm talking now. And I am walking, and I have to fight for it. And I know that there's a reason. So that's my motivation. It's when I speak with others and I can connect with others and I try to inspire others. So when I'm either talking with them about challenges they're going through, I try to give them hope to keep going, even when life gets hard.
And so what were the illnesses you went through? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So when I was younger, when I was about 14, I was bit by a tick. And I developed Lyme disease. It was diagnosed. I had the bullseye's rash and the tick was tested. So throughout that, I had, several aches and pains and brain fog. And then I was in a car accident, head-on collision. And that brought about lots of whiplash and physical pain. So it kind of exacerbated everything else and developed into fibromyalgia. As I continued on through life, I had all these crazy symptoms. I started having seizures. I started having hallucinations and things. I literally thought I was going crazy. I diagnosed myself with everything.
Yeah.
So, and it turned out to be, I have a rare disease. And I think it's called doctor shopping. I went to every single doctor and I was diagnosed with everything except for what I was. So it took one neurologist to send my blood work to Spain, who said, if somebody doesn't fit in the box, this is what doctors are supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent it to Spain. Sure enough, it came back fairly quickly, and I was in the ICU, and they slapped it down and said, we know what you have. And it's a rare disease called anti-GAD65, and it's stiff person.
Wow. And so how has the journey been for you since that diagnosis?
So I found I've been the most authentic person I can be. So I used to hide and be a people pleaser. I used to do anything anybody else would want. I used to jump. And I learned that that is not the reason why I'm here. That's not what I need to do to keep myself healthy. So I really have changed my perspective in life.
And so can you share with us what you were doing for a living before you made the jump into entrepreneurship and what the catalyst was for that shift for you?
Sure. So I went to school to be a nutritionist. And right away after school, I did my internship and got an amazing job at a hospital. And I worked there for several years. And I took a jump into long-term care. And when I did that, I opened a lot of places, did a lot of the hiring. I moved up to management, then director. And I was really focused on changing the culture of how we deal with the staff. And I don't use the staff, it would be team. Mm-hmm. So how we deal with the team and how we deal with each other and how we speak with each other and how we speak with the residents. You see, they didn't have rooms, they had addresses. Right. So changing the whole culture of how we treat other people. What can I do for you to make your life easier? That was pretty well my motto.
Being in and of service to one another. We're all here to be in and of service to one another. So how did those changes go over within the work environment that you were implementing?
It was a shocker. I think a lot of people came from, so here we have unions. And although we did have a unionized place, they often, anytime would call someone into my office to have a conversation, they say, wait, can I have a union store? I said, sure. Either that or we can have a conversation. And sometimes the conversation is they had a lot of time, they were late. And I as my, as their boss, I had to find out why. Sometimes it was childcare. Right. And they couldn't drop their, child off at the right time. And that was okay. So I said, let's look at what tasks you can switch around. So maybe you can come in at a little bit later. And sure enough, I would talk to other team members and we would switch it up. So maybe they came in, 15 minutes later and someone else came in 15 minutes earlier. So a lot of respect came out of it.
And so what was the catalyst for the shift out of that into entrepreneurship for you?
I think it was before that, I actually went to school here in Canada. There's a certification. So I became a certified coach practitioner, went on to be a certified executive coach. And my job actually sent me to, it's a college here called Conestoga College for 1.5 years of schooling to be a leadership coach and try going back to school as an adult and learn the dashboard and how, submit things in. But really what the catalyst is I became sick. And at that time I was losing the function of speaking and walking and talking. I couldn't even hold a pen. So I wasn't able to do my job. And when I left it, I felt like I lost my identity. Yeah. And so I used my own tools to help me regain that. And while I used those tools, other people saw the shift in me. And that's really where I started learning about energy work and how I can heal myself, really connecting, with my spirituality and learning that there's, something within me that I can help heal myself. And other people saw that, and I started helping other people do the same.
And how long did that journey take for you to start regaining all of your function back, your walking, your talking, all of those things, being able to hold a pen?
It's a daily fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is. Probably about 3 to 4, 3 years ago, I started, and it started with the change of mindset and how I talk to myself. So instead of saying, oh no, I have to walk with a walker, I would say, I used to walk with a walker, but I'm doing my physio exercises so I can start using a cane. And then I started using a cane, and I said, I'm going to be using a cane, but I'm going to keep doing my exercises. And then I slipped in the word because I want to dance with my husband at our anniversary. So there are still times that I have to rest before I do anything like this. I may have to do stretches and exercises, follow up with my doctors. I balance between my diet, supplements, as well as conventional medicine.
Beautiful. I love it. The mind is such an incredibly powerful tool. I love it. Now, as mentioned off the top, you are an author. I would love for you to speak a little bit about the book you wrote. Can you tell us the title, subject matter, what the experience was like for you sharing and writing your story and putting it out into the world?
Yes. So my book is called Skip the Pain, Experience the Pleasure. Here's my tagline: cut the crap that's holding you back so you can live the life you love. So in it, I do share some of my experiences. Like I was hit head on by a full-size pickup truck and almost lost my life. A year before that, I did lose my best friend in a car accident. So I had survivor's guilt. 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day later, I held my husband as he passed away, and he died from leukemia. We only knew for 2 weeks. He was the healthiest, sick man you ever knew. I had a son. We had a son together. So I do share some of that stuff. And as I continue on about my journey of fighting with a rare disease and illness. And I've become a healthcare advocate, trying to put out in the world that we do need to check for rare diseases and also be our own advocate. Having said that, when I wrote the book, it is extremely funny. I write it, it's a short, easy read, and it will either change your life or you'll have a good laugh. And I'm going to give you a little example. Sure. So I don't know if this is, for children, not for children. I don't know. It's okay. Might go over everybody's head. So for instance, if I say, what's the G spot?
You think sexual.
Gratitude, of course. Gratitude, of course. What? Gratitude, of course. I have the climax of life. I say, blow off your job. So, and that's all about, sometimes what we do for work isn't our passion. So yeah, I use a lot of innuendos and things like that to engage the reader. And again, it's very short. I had a 365-page book, and I decided I don't need it to be depressing, because every time I went through things, I was already depressed and I didn't need any help. Yeah. And at the very end, everybody either died or I was really sad and I cried. So at the end of this book, you'll probably be crying and laughing at the same time. At the end of every chapter, I give insights about how you can literally change your life so you don't have to go through all the things I've gone through, and you could already live and learn the lessons. Have a good laugh.
I love it. We'll put the link in the show notes when your episode is released for the book so people can check it out. I want to jump in and speak a little bit about your coaching work. What inspired you or led you down the path of becoming coach? Through many conversations I've had with women who have become coaches, there's usually a catalyst moment that led them to becoming a coach. What was yours?
I think it was when I was laying in bed one day, and this is when I was ill, and I couldn't walk without a walker. And I was in pain, and I heard my family sitting. Oh, by the way, 7 years later, I got remarried and had 2 more children. Better slip that in. So I was laying in bed one day, and I realized that the rest of my family was having dinner. And I got up and I went to put some chapstick on and threw my hair in a ponytail, and they thought, wow, and I used to call it patient syndrome, that you stay in bed. And even though, yes, I was in pain, I was still sitting with them. So through doing that, other people would notice that I was still started to live. And that's kind of where I got skip the pain, experience the pleasure. I started finding ways to get pleasure in my life. The more I started doing that, the more people would come to me. And it was like a magnet. People would, and this was really throughout my life, people would come to me, ask for advice, especially when, I lost my husband. There's so many people who've, gone through different stages of grief. And I'm going to be honest, there's no competition. No. Is whether you lose a husband, a wife, a pet, a fur baby, there's no competition. Grief is grief. A traumatic event, you still go through it. Yeah. So that was really kind of like the catalyst and the motivation. And really when I started exploring more what I can do and how I can impact others, then that's really when things started to change.
Yeah. Grief is a very, very tough road to walk. And you're right. Everyone's journey is individual. It's not a competition of who's suffering more or who's gone through worse grief. Grief is grief, as you said. So how have these experiences helped shape the Christa you are today, both personally and professionally, do you think?
I become more authentic. I used to be the person who you wanted me to be, Brad. I would show up here and say the things that you wanted me to say. I would study your programs, your shows like crazy, and I would write down anybody else's answers. But guess what? I didn't. I'm here. I'm being vulnerable, and I'm saying what is my truth. And that truth is allowing other people to speak their truth. So that's really how it shaped me, by being my most authentic and vulnerable self. I don't hold back.
I love it. Being inauthentic or not being yourself or being the people pleaser, that's exhausting. Trying to keep up appearances for everyone else and do what you think everyone else wants you to do. What lights you up or inspires you the most about the work you do as a coach?
Honestly, when I receive the messages from other people who tell me how much I've either inspired them or I've changed their lives. And sometimes, believe it or not, my biggest audience is men. It's really interesting. There's a lady one day who she read my book and she said to her husband, "Here, you have to read this." And he says, "I haven't read, since I was in high school. And even then I read Cole's notes, if you're old enough to know what Cole's notes were." And he says, "I only read when I go to sleep." So one day he couldn't sleep. So she says, "Perfect opportunity." So she gave him the book and he couldn't put it down, till midnight. And the next day he got up and he read it a little bit more. He came home and instead of turning on the TV, he picked back up my book. And then the next morning he finished it again. It was a quick read. Yeah. And both his wife and him sent me a message. And first of all, they sent, "This is probably not Christa who's going to answer." I said, "Yes, this is really Christa who's going to answer." So the fact that I can inspire, hopefully change lives, is really what lights me up and gives me the motivation to keep going every day, to keep myself healthy, to keep prioritizing health in my journey.
Because you have work to do. You have things to help people with. I love it. How has your own personal journey shaped your coaching philosophy?
So that's a great question. I think, again, being completely authentic. My philosophy has changed from being, a people pleaser. If somebody wanted something, I would say yes right away. Or, how hard can I jump? I'll take your shift. I'll take your shift. And my philosophy now is be yourself. Be who you truly are. Follow your passion, because you know what? During my research in my book, at the end of my book, I wrote 10 things people said at the end of their life. And not one of them said, "I wish I worked more."
Yeah, that's a powerful statement. What are a couple of the most important lessons you've learned in your career as a coach, and how have those lessons helped you in your business and your personal life?
One of the lessons I've learned is I'll never stop learning. I'll be honest. The more people I talk to, the more I grow and the better person I become. And that's in all areas of my life.
Beautiful. Now, I want to jump in and speak about the spiritual side of things. Being a spiritual mentor and energy worker, you're obviously, spirituality is a big part of who you are. I'm curious to hear how your spiritual journey began. Was there a catalyst moment in your life that led you down that spiritual path?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people don't like talking about that.
I love talking
So
about
I was raised a certain religion, a strict religion, where I had to kneel down and pray the rosary, and I had to pray that my soul wouldn't burn in the firing blazes of hell every day. And I was afraid to make any mistake. So it wasn't until as I started growing, as I started getting a life of my own. Actually, my catalyst is when I was in my car accident, and I held on to my dear life and said, please, God. And have you ever noticed when you're in a situation, maybe when a child is sick or, a parent, or if there's a, catastrophe in your life, what do you say? Who do you ask?
God.
Please, God. Exactly. So I'm not saying there has to be a God, but for me, it was a God of my understanding, a God that it was actually my higher self, my higher spirit. And my God today is a loving and forgiving God. And that's really what was my catalyst in first of all, changing and developing a relationship.
So how has your journey as a spiritual mentor and energy worker transformed your own life and your own personal beliefs?
It kept me going. It totally kept me going. So one of the things that I struggled with was healing myself, both mind and body. We're one person. So as an energy worker, I deal with different modalities, whether it be Reiki, whether it be intuitive reading, getting our intuition, which really goes along with our spirituality. I learned that I'm here for a higher purpose. You see, I had a near-death experience. Some people may say I was drugged up. Some people may have said it was a dream. I really don't care what you call it. I just know my experience. I also, when my husband passed away in my arms, and I held his head so close to mine, and I actually felt, he kept saying, Christa, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's, it's so hard. And all the time I kept saying, no, keep fighting. And at the very end, I said, no, it's okay if you need to go. And I felt the most intense love that you would ever feel in your life. So I am not afraid to die. And I know there's a reason why I'm living right now. So I have to fulfill my purpose. And I do that because I have to heal. I have to not sink into that depression, because it's very easy to, when I used to be a type A person who keeps going. And there are days I do that and I pay for it the next day. And I use everything I learned from my energy work to, basically heal myself. And now I get to help others.
I love it. Can I ask, was that NDE as a result of your car accident?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It was a result from my illness. There was one time I suffered probably about 21 seizures in one day.
Wow.
And your brain actually can't function after that. So I became unconscious, and I was intubated. During the ambulance ride, I remember seeing myself. I can tell you exactly what the ambulance people said. I remember the feeling of being intubated, even though they were saying she's not here. And then, without getting into the rest of my experience, I know basically the end result is the most profound love you'll ever experience.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. What are some of the most profound spiritual insights or truths that you've uncovered through your work?
I think that there's always a higher purpose. No matter where we are, there's no competition again of how spiritual we are or how good we act in the world. There's no major guru. I mean, you may think there are, and you may aspire to be one, but the journey is our own. And I think by working at improving ourselves every single day is really kind of what we're supposed to do and what helps keeps us going and helps keep us growing.
I love that. Can you explain the role of energy in the work you do and how you work with it to facilitate healing in others?
Oh, I love that. Again, a lot of people don't like bringing that up. So there are so many different modalities out there. So I did the conventional, medicine. I was on 3 years of treatment, and I definitely will attribute that to getting better as well. But I got certified in Reiki, and Reiki basically means life force and is basically a healing technique where any type of practitioner uses their hands to channel that energy to promote healing and put the people in a state of well-being, overall health, and calmness. I also discovered Akashic Records. Most people don't know what that is. And even for me, I said, Aku, what? I didn't even have an idea. So I definitely didn't think I was going to do it. But again, I felt called to do it. And basically, it's a Sanskrit word for meaning sky. And you can really think of it like a computer or a library. So if you have a library, you walk in and you take a book, and it stores everything you've ever thought, everything you ever felt throughout your life, through your ancestors, and also in the future. Or if people are listening here and are saying, what is a library? You can think of it like a computer. And it's a computer that, has all your downloads through your life. And what I do is I look at that, and through my intuition, I look at what has gone through your past to make you who you are today. What are some of the insecurities? What are some of your fears? And how is that developed? Maybe those generational traumas. And based on that, I look at what patterns may lead you to the future. And the future hasn't happened yet, people. So I'm not telling you this is what's going to happen. I'm saying based on this is probably where you're going to be and what may happen. And that gives you the amazing opportunity to change that.
Yeah, I love it. How has your spiritual journey evolved since you began practicing energy work? Are there any key milestones or shifts that you've experienced?
Definitely. So it's definitely evolved during my awareness, how much we really are not in control. It's definitely deepened my relationship. It shifted my awareness from how our thoughts and how our words and our actions affect everything I do. It has shifted the way we think. For me, how I think. If I think I can't do something, guess what? I can't do it. Right. It shifted the way I talk. If I say something negative or put out what I don't want in the world, I'll get more of that. And the same thing with our actions. If I act in a way that's irresponsible or hurting myself, I'll only continue down that spiral down. But when I take the action of being kind, and when I speak, to myself and out to the world, and actually there's a little trick I have to share about speaking. So I've worked a lot on the power of language. One little example, and I hope this gives a tool to some of your listeners, is that think about the feeling. You're late for a meeting, you got stopped at a light, you lost your keys, your dog wouldn't stop barking, and you are type A like me, and you walk into the meeting, you go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm late. I dropped my keys and, my dog, and I was on a stoplight and a train and a plane, and all this stuff happened. And everybody's looking at you. And how do you think everybody feels? Now let's turn that around for one quick second. You lost your keys, the same traffic light, someone cut you off, the same train stopped you, and you walk in your room and you say, thanks for waiting for me. You pull up a chair and you sit down.
Yeah, instead of complaining about what happened.
Yeah, look how that shifted. People look at you and say, let's continue.
Yeah, it shifts the
instead
energy.
of drawing the attention. Absolutely.
Thank you for that tip. That's amazing. It takes a lot of self-awareness, though. You have to be aware of the language you're using, the things you're doing, the way you're speaking, the tone of voice, all of it. But it can when you have that awareness and you catch yourself, it can completely change and shift the energy of the room.
Absolutely. And one of the tips I can say is you can start with one word, sorry. I mean, being aware and being conscious.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, I'm sorry I couldn't help out, say, thank you. I can maybe help you with a different resource. Or again, thank you for waiting.
Yeah.
Using the word thank you a lot.
Yeah.
Or, trying to give them a different way, or somebody else, who can help them.
Well, it speaks to
You
that.
don't have
that
to
G-spot,
apologize.
gratitude.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for bringing that back up.
Now, obviously, with the work you do with energy and spiritual work, it can, I would imagine, at times be quite draining for you emotionally, spiritually, physically. I'd love to know what daily practices or rituals you follow to maintain your spiritual health and effectiveness as a healer.
One of the things I find is so important is to find some silence. The world can be so loud. How many times do you get up and you pick up your phone? And even though you think it's silent, you're still having that mental chatter in your mind. You're still thinking about all things you're going to do. So it's that self-talk. So I think about how I talk to myself. I switch it from, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough, or what am I going to say, or if I'm going to trip, or am I going to be able to be, a speaker on stage and motivate people? Instead of that, I find a place of silence, just silence. And the more I do that, the better I get at it. And I ended up becoming refreshed and re-energized. So when I speak with others, when I work with others, when I encounter others, I come back from a place of being reset.
Mm-hmm. That also takes practice, though, to be able to quiet the mind. You have to work at it, because our minds, like you said, they're constantly going, all the thoughts we have every minute of the day. So, it's being able to quiet the mind. It takes practice and work, but if you work at it, it's possible, and it will shift everything.
Yeah. And another quick tip, I'll say, start with an action. So what action can you do? Stop listening to social media, even if you do it for 15 minutes. Put your phone down, even for 15 minutes. Find a place where it's silent without kids or dogs or parents or your phone. Find a place, walk in nature where you can find that silence. Shift the way you're talking to yourself. And the more you do that, taking those actions will bring you to a place, even for 15 minutes, and it'll grow to a half hour, and it will keep growing, and it'll keep bringing you aware, and you'll find what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that tip. How would you describe the role of a spiritual mentor to someone who is unfamiliar with the concept?
That's a great question, because I didn't even know what a spiritual mentor it was until someone asked. And I realized it was because I was having some profound impact on people that they wanted to share as well. So spirituality is within us. It's not outside of us. It's not something that you grasp or you hold on to. So how I focus on, first of all, what spirituality means to them. So I uncover what those old limiting beliefs, for instance, if they had a punishing God, and then I ask them, what would you like to think instead? And how can we develop a relationship? And sometimes spirituality has a lot to do with, as we would call it, woo-woo work, looking at things, greater than ourselves, looking for ways and speaking and surrounding ourselves with like-minded people. So, and that's pretty well what I do, is I talk to people and I help shift their mindset. And when I start doing that and get them to listen to their body, it's that little whisper that tells you, turn left instead of right. And then when you find out that, if you would have turned left, there was this major car accident. It's that little whisper that tells you, you know what, write that book, even though you don't want to, because it may help somebody else. Yeah. So that's really what it is.
Our intuition.
And to listen to that.
Listening to our intuition. What are some of the most common challenges your clients face on their spiritual journeys, and how do you help them overcome these obstacles?
Guilt and shame is what I hear the most. People come to a place, and this isn't only in coaching, this is in every part of my life and conversations with people. Again, while I'm speaking on stages, when people ask for feedback from my book, or if I'm working one-on-one with people or as a healthcare advocate, they have a lot of guilt and shame and they feel like a burden. And you know how I know that? It's because I felt that too. I felt a lot of guilt and shame because I needed to ask for help. I felt like a burden on my family because they had to pick up the pieces of things that I couldn't do. So how I help them is I become vulnerable. And again, I share how I was able to get out of that. And again, practice, action. If you notice, everything I've talked about here, I try to give a tool or an action to do. So I start with self-awareness. When you go down that road, that guilt and shame, ask, first of all, is it true? Mm-hmm. You know, is it really true what happened, of what I said? And do you really have that much impact on the world when you are in a state of guilt and shame and feeling like a burden? Or can you switch it to saying, what can I do? And how can I pay it forward? And then that's really what seems to transform them.
Beautiful. What is one tip or takeaway that you can provide for listeners that they can implement immediately to start shifting their mindset and incorporating their own healing and spiritual gifts or side into their lives and utilizing them to shift and change?
Mindset. It's all about mindset. I'll go back to that. So again, where your focus goes is what you'll get. If you keep focusing on things that you don't want, the more things that will happen that you don't want. You'll see it. It's kind of like when you get a new car, and if you want a red car, and all you start seeing is red cars all over the place. Yeah. So it's the same thing. Our minds do that. We're naturally wired to do that. We're actually naturally wired to unconsciously think of negative things. Our mind stores emotions, the most emotional things that we've gone through. And usually those are traumatic experiences. What traumatic experiences brings negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. So those negative thoughts are unconsciously there all the time. And that's what makes us act a certain way. So becoming conscious of that and really bringing that up and saying, you know what, I'm not going to let that stop me anymore. So really changing your mindset to, again, what do I want instead? I have this acronym, and it says WAIT, W-A-I-T, and it stands for why, what am I thinking? What do I want to think instead? It also stands for why am I talking? W-A-I-T. Because sometimes why do we talk? We come around and we, want to gossip or we want to complain. Or people walk in a room and complain, oh my goodness, I have all these aches and pains, or someone stole my teenager and he's an alien now, or we complain about our parents or something like that. And what happens to somebody next to us who felt really good? They start thinking, oh, wow, you're right. My husband or wife is, whatever, or, I got this pain in my neck. I didn't even notice. So why am I talking? And what am I saying to myself? And the last weight is what actions I'm taking. Look at what you're doing every day and how it can help you grow into the person that you want to be.
Negativity breeds negativity. You walk into a room with that negativity, people feel it, and it spreads. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. But again, it goes back to the self-awareness thing. In what ways do you believe spiritual healing can contribute to societal well-being and the collective consciousness?
I think it brings us to a place of unity. One of the greatest gifts I've given myself, I'm going to say, is by saying yes. So by saying yes to writing this book, first of all, because people would say, your story could be someone else's roadmap. And I'm sure they just came up with that, cliche that people said, but it was true. It did help me do that. I come and I'm able to do podcasts. I go on TV once a week. I'm on different shows and interviews, and I speak to people all over the world. So I literally yesterday was on a show from someone in Australia who was up at 3 a.m. I was talking to someone in New Zealand, someone else in Canada who was in the same time zone, and someone who was in Arizona. And so when I see everybody and we all are our authentic self, and we come from a place of love and compassion, because that's really what spirituality is pure love and compassion, that it brings unity among us. And, the Zoom is really one of the greatest ways that I think, we've come to a place like that instead of having to travel the world.
Absolutely. It has created such community in a way. Like, the technology is amazing, and that came to light even more so because of COVID, where it brought people together from around the world. And how powerful is that? And how beautiful is that we're able to connect with and have conversations with people on the other side of the world through this technology.
Yeah. It's interesting because I won't call them out, but there was this one, he's a TV host, and she says she wanted to interview me because of my spirituality. And she says, I'm not really allowed to talk about it because some of my guests or my listeners or people I have, she came up with all these, these things, although I really do believe in all it. And I thought, what? and that's okay. And that was her belief. Guess what happened about 6 months later? She asked me to be back on her show, and she had this awakening herself, and her show topic was on spirituality and energy work and how we can be more compassionate and bring more love in our lives. And she did give me, a little bit of credit to how she opened up and become vulnerable herself and looked and became aware of, what am I holding back from? Yeah. And how can I make more impact? Because that's really what she wanted to do. That's why she was a host, right? To impact others. So that was another way.
Amazing. What is an unexpected blessing or occurrence in your life that you're grateful for?
Okay, this may sound weird, but let my dog bark. He never sits with me. So one of the greatest things is, if I wasn't in my car accident, I wouldn't have valued time. If I didn't lose my husband, I wouldn't have valued what true love was. And if I didn't have this rare disease, I wouldn't have valued health.
Powerful. So what do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I'm non-judgmental right away. I speak with anybody and everybody, whatever, life, you never know what's happening behind closed doors.
Very true. You don't know what someone else is going through. We have no idea. How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
Peace, a state of peace. So when you respond instead of react, and you're able to, because when you're in a state of peace, you're also in a state of love. You're also in a state of being, compassionate. So being in a state of peace is really what I would say.
What is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before you learned it? What was your life like after learning it?
I would say one of the most important things is to, again, be authentic, be who you really are. And before I was who everybody wanted to be. And now after, I can sit on shows like this and hopefully inspire other people. And when I work or speak with people, and again, in my book, I am definitely authentic and open.
I love it. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
The empowerment for me would mean to inspiring other people.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing, okay?
Sure.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
I would still say non-judgmental.
If you could be remembered for...
Maybe that's 2 words.
That's okay.
I don't know.
That's all right. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I'm generous.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
It's okay to fail.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
I'm compassionate.
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Love.
And that concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I threw in a little bonus question that I did not send you ahead of time. If you could take one feeling or one belief and bottle it up and give it to people, what would it be?
It's okay to have fear. So many people say, don't fear something. And fear can stand for so many things. People may have heard this, false evidence appearing real, but people learn from fear. Some people learn from failure, and it's natural to fear things. But on the other side of fear is love.
Beautiful. Who in your life, Christa, has had the biggest impact on you and why?
I'm going to say my mom. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a great childhood. My mom was a practicing alcoholic and was married 5 times, and it was very unstable. She developed lots of things, and I was taken away, and I was kind of lived here and there. But she went to rehab, and she learned her own self-love, and she's changed her entire life. And I've given her cards and said, I only can hope that I can be the type of mother that you are to me today.
That's inspirational that she turned everything around and changed after what she'd been through. Amazing. What is one lesson your career has taught you that you think everybody should learn at some point in their life?
Passion. Go after your passion. Because again, no one said on their deathbed, I wish I, worked more at whatever job. And even if it's not your job, find a way to do your passion.
Yeah, so many people in life end up staying stuck in jobs they hate and are miserable. That's a horrible way to live.
Yep.
If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
What's one thing someone doesn't know about you?
Okay.
Or you don't know about me, or your listening audience doesn't know about me?
Okay, go ahead.
So no, you're asking me? So one of my secret gifts is I can play the harmonica. And that is definitely not something that I think a lot of people can say.
Okay. What is your why, Christa?
My why is really to give and receive love.
That's beautiful. What would you say is one of your biggest failures or teachable moments, and what did you learn from it?
I would say when I wanted to give up. This does sound funny, but I wrote this in my book. I went through the drive-through and I, ordered a coffee, and I said in my mind, and can I have a side order of a will to live? So feeling like giving up, but then turning that around to having a feeling and wanting to inspire and help people and help myself.
Love it. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
It would be Oprah. And the reason why is because she has the qualities and values that I aspire to have. So she can talk publicly about things that she's gone through. She's physically has shown her challenges. She's had guests come on who speak about so many different things, and she's totally authentic and definitely vulnerable.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Besides wear a bikini every day, because you can, I would say take risks. Take a risk. It's okay. Life is too short.
Yeah, for sure. Lastly, Christa, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
Life is definitely full of twists and turns. So enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Find gratitude because what you have is probably someone else's dream. And sometimes the biggest lessons are our biggest blessings in disguise. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes. And don't forget that we need to laugh. Life is too short to be taken seriously, but long enough to enjoy it. And always to have hope, because hope can stand for heck over pleasing everyone to hold on pain ends.
Beautiful. Christa, thank you so much for such an amazingly beautiful, inspiring, and insightful interview. I've absolutely enjoyed every moment. Thank you for sharing your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. It was an absolute honor to have you here. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful to have you as a member of the Empowerography community.
Thank you. I am completely honored. And I want to thank your guests for also taking their precious time to listen.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Christa Rose. She is a certified coach, a spiritual mentor, an energy worker, a speaker, and an author. Thank you so much, Christa. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.